What's up, everybody, and welcome to episode 163 of Two Amazon Sellers and a Microphone, brought to you by Solozo. And today we're going to be talking about the importance of building your brand on and off Amazon. And we got the perfect guest for it. Carina McLeod from eCommerce Nurse is joining us to discuss all things about building your brand. Carina, how are you doing?
I'm good, thank you. And thank you for inviting me onto your podcast today.
We are glad you are here. This is always a fun topic of building brands. So we're excited to pick your brain about it and dive in. But you were telling us you're about an hour east, is that right, of London?
Yeah, I'm as far as you can go, actually. If you go any further, you'll end up in the sea. So yes, I'm in a place called Essex in the south of England.
It's beautiful there.
Well, it's a bit grey at the moment, but it's not quite where the sun's shining. But you know, we've got the sea.
Yeah, it's beautiful. I love going to all over UK. I used to go there all the time. I'm a tennis player. I used to go there all the time for Wimbledon.
Awesome.
That was good times. Great memories there. So
strawberries and cream.
Yes, so good. Such a good atmosphere there. It's really fun. But that's not what we're here to talk about. Is my travels. We're here to talk about brands. So I want to kick it off because for anybody who's listening to our podcast, you have your own podcast. Everyone needs to check it out. We'll talk about that later as well. But for everyone who doesn't know you, any of our audience doesn't know you, we'd love to hear sort of a little bit about you, how you ended up in this space, why you chose to create an agency to help other brands perform better. So you've got the floor for a few minutes. We'd love to hear the backstory of Carina.
Awesome. Thank you, Dustin. A bit about me. So I've been in the Amazon space for nearly 17 years now. So when I started working for Amazon in the UK, I started working for them in 2004. And so I've seen Amazon evolve immensely over the last almost 20 years now. And so I started off working at Amazon within the vendor management team. And very much my role was launching new product categories into the UK. So launching sports and fitness, being part of the home and garden launch, launching fashion, all the new categories that are no longer those new categories on Amazon. And so I was there for 7 years, and I then left Amazon, a bit of burnout, I guess, wanting to break free from Amazon, which didn't quite happen. The idea of breaking free meant that all of a sudden I had many previous vendors reaching out and asking for help, because that was just really when there was the recent launch of Vendor Central and having to start uploading products into Vendor Central, etc. And so then it really kind of opened up my eyes in the sense that I didn't see when I was at Amazon there was a need to educate vendors. Vendors needed that support, and that support they weren't getting from Amazon. So I started to do consulting. I started to consult for a number of brands. And then all of a sudden I started to never been from the seller side, although I've always understood the seller side, working with 3P internally at Amazon, but never actually been on that side of the fence. But then I realized there's a lot of interest in seller. And so it's a bit like Microsoft or Apple. Once you know one, you know the other. So kind of understood Seller Central, how everything works. And then years moving on from there, supporting brands and helping them grow, came to a point that I was consulting. I was able to implement to some extent, but I'm not an expert. I'm not an expert in marketing. And so what it came to was that we needed to have experts on board. And also it wasn't scalable. I couldn't do everything. And that's really when we had eCommerce Nurse was launched as an agency to actually scale the work that I was doing, to implement for clients, and also to bring a team of experts in their field on, so we could really deliver, really help those brands meet that potential on Amazon. And so years on, I've been in the consulting or in the space on the other side of the Amazon fence for over 10 years now. And we as an agency have been going for almost 4 years.
Wow. So you've seen a lot of transition. I mean, just the space alone has like transitioned from just launching products to now being a brand. Has there been any kind of crossover from when you first started to what you're kind of doing now? I know it's changed a lot, but are you seeing like similar things that you used to work on come back into the space?
We're just seeing, it's just really the evolution is crazy from a point of just seeing all the tools that were, seeing Vendor Central be launched and seeing what it's become. I also think that we never really probably ever thought that it was going to become what it is today as well. And then seeing the evolution of the seller platform. When I was at Amazon, the vendor platform was like the dominant one. It was like, we're vendors. We work with vendors, not sellers. But the tables have turned, and so there's this, emerging seller business that has been really fantastic and is fantastic for Amazon. So I think I haven't necessarily seen anything come back, but it's more that just the evolution of Amazon as it is. And, I was at Amazon at the days where we had the catalog team on the upstairs. And so if you had to do a product upload and it didn't work, you picked up the phone. And that was when you had, picked up a phone and someone would come downstairs. And it's almost like, if you buy them a beer, could you help me fix this catalog issue? Which, of course, now it's in, other parts in different countries and so forth. And so it's being in Amazon in those days, you learn everything. You had to do everything. You had a hat on for everything. You had to learn the back end, the front end, and everything. And that really gave me that toolkit to be able to create this agency of knowing all their systems and the whys and everything. Just seeing the real inside of Amazon and the craziness of their tools.
Well, it's changed. I mean, I remember being as a seller and all the vendor central accounts would get all the new features. Yeah. Like when sponsored headline ads came out, that's what they used to call them. It's like, okay, go join Vendor Express so you can get that kind of stuff. Now it's like, it's flipped. Like Amazon releases things to Seller Central because the thought process now and the focus is now more like brand centric. Like, let's help these brands with Amazon and Seller Central. Do brands that are on Vendor Central, is there still pushback to become Seller Central because they like to stay in that niche, or is it being more adapted where, hey, let's go on brand side first?
Yeah, it's more down to, I always say, the setup of you as a brand. So if you're a wholesale brand, then really Vendor's a place for you to be. But if you're a direct to consumer brand, really, then you should be on the seller platform. A lot of brands out there that are probably, I would say, your bricks and mortar, real traditional brands that almost only ever considered vendor are now considering seller, because vendors, like, it's quite costly, squeezing them on a lot of improved cost prices, loads of other additional discounts. But, post-pandemic and where we currently are, there's no cost reductions. It's all about cost increases, which makes it even tougher when you haven't got somebody on the other side that's able to accept those costs. And where do you go from there? And that's what a lot of brands are finding right now that are working with Amazon on the vendor side.
Yeah, we have these conversations quite often. I was just talking to actually a relative of mine who happens to work for another retail company, and they are on the vendor platform, and they're seeing those things, in some ways, getting a PO and sending in a bunch of inventory, and there's, it's a little easier, but you lose all the control. You're talking about pricing control, even more of the options now you get. So we are seeing a lot of that, which now segues into what I think we really want to talk about is the importance of a brand, of building your brand, both on and off of Amazon. So dive in at a high level, just talk about that. What is how important is that? I mean, and before you dive into that, I'll tell a story. I mean, Chris and I started selling around the same time, launching our businesses, and 2014 is roughly when we got in. The concept of brand or the importance of it was really low. It was more about you could source products, sell them, source another product, sell them, and that has dramatically changed up until now. Now, and Amazon supporting it big time with all the things that they offer brand through the brand registry program. You can just do a lot more things as a brand. So go through a little bit of just sort of your take on the importance of building a brand.
Yeah, definitely. Well, of course, as you've mentioned already, just if you are going to work with Amazon is favoring those that are brands, favoring those brand owners, and you get access to more features. So if you don't you're not a brand owner and not focusing on the brand, then it's going to be really difficult for you to be successful on the Amazon platform, because, you're missing out on so many features. But it's not only that, it's also about thinking about the customer coming onto Amazon and that loyalty, and also that credibility as well, because it's so the market is almost in most product categories saturated on Amazon. There's a huge amount of competition, and in a number of categories it's really quite aggressive, especially when you start going into paid advertising, etc. And so you really need your product to stand out, and really the way to stand out is creating a brand to differentiate your product. And creating a brand is not just about having a brand name. It's all the marketing that comes alongside that in able to really, make your product stand out from the competition. But also it's about being a brand that then you've given from a customer experience, a great positive customer experience, you start creating that customer loyalty. So as you expand, we've worked with a number of businesses, new businesses that have launched a brand, launched 1 or 2 products. Customers are really satisfied with their products. They then expand into other products. It's a lot easier when you've already got a brand name that's known, that's trusted. And you do often find that you can create that brand loyalty. So that's definitely something that's important, not only as the Amazon features, but competition, and of course that customer loyalty. And that's solely on the Amazon platform. But of course you've got the off Amazon as well. And that's the credibility part. You can see it from 2 ways. A customer comes onto Amazon, never heard of your brand. I know, for one, I like to do my research. I start finding out more about this brand. Is it an Amazon only brand? What are they doing outside? And if I start seeing that they're doing a lot more off Amazon, got their own website, doing stuff in social media, and really start seeing that they've got a following, that starts getting me a lot more interested, and actually makes me think, I might want to invest more in this brand, for example. Now, of course, it depends what category. If you're investing a lot more money than a cheaper item, of course, it's more of a considered purchase. But you do find that a lot of customers start doing their research, and so that really supports that purchase as well on Amazon, as well as the other side of wanting to drive traffic to Amazon. You've got your store, you're promoting your brand in Facebook, other social media channels, and you also then want to drive traffic to Amazon. Maybe you're launching new products, etc. And so it helps in many different ways, having that brand.
What are some ways that you're getting, I guess, Amazon customers to find brand, like your brand? Like if you were selling a brand, what are some ways that you can get creative as far as whether it be the packaging, the inserts, or what are some ways to get them to learn more about you, to come to your website? What are you seeing on that side?
Yeah, I mean, that's always the tough part, right? Because the brand part is more about once you've got them in, you've got them, it's about making it the conversion element. But it's more, it's having a brand that's out there that, some brands are creating a community with it. So it's not only about a brand, they get more than a brand on their website. They feel part of a community of, it could be a fitness product. let's use example of brands like Peloton, right? They've created that community. It's not just about the product, it's about the community. And so actually these days, building a lot more and using social media can be a really powerful tool as well to get the brand name out there. And it's that kind of added value that people get. Now, that doesn't translate so well on Amazon, because Amazon's becoming brand focused, but still their website's pretty transactional. It's not fantastic to really grow a brand. So that's why, to really make that brand grow into something a bit more than just a transactional brand, is where you've got to do a lot more off Amazon activity.
Yeah, I always get excited talking about this stuff. But also at the same time, you start talking about it and you're like, this is going to be a lot of work.
That's exactly what I was thinking.
Yeah,
this is forever.
Not just going through and finding cool products or inventing something or whatever your approach is to product development. It almost, this is like the very first thing that you want to nail down. It's like, who am I going after? Who is my ideal customer or customer avatar? And can I make a brand that's relatable and helpful to them, that they and a group that they want to be a part of, or like their tribe? So let's start from the beginning. Okay, let's just say we want to create a brand. What's the first thing that you're doing to get this process started?
Yeah, well, you first got to, as you say, you've got to figure out what your audience is, because let's say you've got a product, so you've already got an idea of what you're going to sell. So you're going to want a brand. First off, you've got to think of a brand name and a brand logo, right? That's the first part of what is the brand name that people are going to easily remember. But also, once you've got that, and also be very careful when you are thinking of a brand name, making sure that that brand name isn't used anywhere else. Because, of course, you want to register your trademark. And this is what we've found with a lot of businesses. They've created an awesome brand name, and then all of a sudden they start saying on Amazon, and they go, oh, we've got an issue with brand registry. Well, why? You've got a trademark, haven't you? You've got, and these are some known brands. And they're like, oh, we don't have a trademark. And I'm like, well, what? You don't have a trademark? Because it was never really pushed. They just assumed that it's all right. We've got the website URL. We've got a brand name. We're known. But actually it end up, considering, do you have to then start rebranding? So that's something you want to avoid further down the line. You get a brand. So it's thinking of a brand name that's memorable and something that's not used anywhere else, that you can have the URL. We always say when we come up with brand names, I mean, I'm a bit of an avid buyer of URLs, but, buy the URL, make sure you've got it on social media and so forth, and all of those to double check that you're not going to end up competing with somebody else that has a similar product, or you end up with a legal case further down the line. And then, of course, working on a logo, it doesn't have to be a complex logo. It's always a simple logo, but a logo that customers are going to remember. And those are always the first things that you want to look into. But of course, that then has to be more about your target audience as well. You've always got to make sure that you know who you're going to appeal to. And also, if you're going international, making sure that your brand name doesn't mean something else in another country.
That's a good point.
Because that can happen. So just even, thinking about that at the start, that's always something that, as a first step.
I got two stories on that one. I could tell people but it's so funny you bring up that translation or what it means. I started a company. It was going to be a software platform. This was many years ago, and I wanted one of those names that was like Google or something like that, where it's kind of not really, there was no meaning behind it really, but it's. So I found one. I won't say what it is because the next part of the story is pretty funny. But I had customers, I was getting, clients, it was rolling. And then somebody sent me a link to Urban Dictionary and it was like the slang, whatever my name was like a pretty bad slang. I was like, oh my gosh, this is terrible. I should have done my research on that. So that's a good point. And then I also had I did the same scenario you said, as I launched a brand, built it out. It was my first product I launched on Amazon. It was bestseller. And the name I picked, this is the brand Registry comes out now. And now I'm like, oh, I better get a trademark to get all this stuff going. And I immediately get a cease and desist from a really well-known major company. And in some ways, it's kind of like, that's pretty cool. They're concerned about me. Must be doing all right. But yeah, that had to do it. Now I've got to do a full rebrand. I mean, that's a pain in the butt. So those are great steps. All right. So you picked your brand name, you got a logo. These are all the pre-steps. But now people need to hear about you. They need to know, you need to start interacting. What's your first steps to start building a community around your brand?
Yeah. And that's when you want to make sure that you go on social media. So you want a grounding anyway. So you want to have a website. It doesn't have to be a fancy, a fancy website with all the bells and whistles, but somewhere that people can go to if you're driving traffic, because you might want to drive traffic and sales to Amazon, but actually it's good to start building an audience, because you can then, you can't get hold of those customers once they've gone to Amazon. It's really tight in terms of Amazon allowing you to reach out to customers in terms of what you can and can't do. And so it's good to start gaining those subscribers, as it were, and you can start getting people excited it might be that you haven't even launched products and pre-launch, and you start getting people interested. So having that basis there as a foundation of a website, just to start. And then it's about creating that buzz within social media. So using the main social media channels and gaining traction there. Other things is that people use is getting influencers. Influencers is a fantastic way, when people have used your product. And it doesn't have to, there's influencers out there that you're not having to pay a huge amount to. There are influencers that cost an absolute fortune in terms of what you have to pay. But getting people that are familiar, into your product and starting to go out, you can start getting things go a bit more viral, and you start creating the right community. You just need to make sure that it is the right community, because there's nothing worse than, if you're gaining traction and you're working with influencers that aren't in line with your brand, then of course they're going to attract a different audience. And it's really getting that hype, but it is long-winded. It isn't, we're not talking here about, as you mentioned earlier, finding that niche on Amazon, and then going in and tapping into that gap within Amazon. What we're talking about, it might be that you've got a product that can go in there. What we're talking about, building a brand, is a long-term process, and it takes time, because it's more about thinking, if I have one successful product, then I can launch more and more products, because I'm starting, people have heard of the brand, and it's more about what that means for your brand, in 5 years, 10 years time, as opposed to really making a huge amount within the first year, for example.
I like that. So you're using your, I guess, your customer avatar as the target you're going after. You're building a community around that. And then you could go to that community and say, hey, what did we launch again? What kind of product should we launch? Is that what you work with your clients for? Is like build a community, and you got to know where they're at, right? Like, is it Facebook, Instagram, TikTok? Like, know where they hang out at.
Exactly. And it depends on your audience and what customer you're going after, because if you're going for a real young audience, then you're going to go with the latest social media. If you're going for an older audience, then probably Facebook is the place where you want to gain that traction. So those are definitely how you want to do that. But of course, you're going to be selling on Amazon, but there's other things that you can be doing on Amazon to gain that traction. But it's less brand, because nobody's going to be searching for your brand on Amazon, right? That's the thing. They might be searching for your product, but when it comes from a keyword perspective. So then that's when you might want to start thinking about then your on Amazon strategies, which is more about if you're competitor conquesting and so forth, like that. So you're going to have different strategies on Amazon as you are sort of off Amazon.
it's hard to know what the return is on social media, right? Like when you launch a product, you got a brand name, you're doing all the packaging, you're doing all the images. Social media is probably like the last thing you think about because it's hard to measure the return on that. What do you suggest there? Like, how do you divide your time up? Is it getting a team together, or is it just posting like 1 or 2 times a day? What's the strategy there for somebody who's like a solopreneur? How do they know when doing the social media and branding is right for them?
It's all, I would say it's all consistency. And just a post a day, just being out there, because you want to, I mean, with social media, like if you go to Instagram, for example, it doesn't stay there for long, right? The story, it's only 24 hours. So it's just about consistency and being out there. And it's not about having to, there's tools out there that can allow you to create really affordable images, or just using stock images and adding some content overlay to highlight images with your product, or just different activities, not different activities, but different creatives to drive that. And that's what you can be doing. But you've also, alongside all of that, I wouldn't say that that's your only focus. You still want to be building this on Amazon, because Amazon is the place to be. So you're going away and you're building a brand, but you still need to be driving, you still want to be driving sales. So the brand building is almost something that is running in parallel to you focusing on selling your key product as well. And that's really going to fund it. So, because brand building is long term, but at the same time, you've got a product that you want to sell, that you want to get it up, and you want to have it selling on Amazon and start moving as well. And really the brand part is bringing in more traffic, but also solidifying what you're doing on Amazon.
So let's talk about that now, the Amazon portion of it. And let's start with, I think this would be a good way to segue into this. What mistakes do you see brands making on Amazon today? Or what are the main ones?
Yeah, with a lot of brands, so you see sometimes they're not necessarily brands. They've given themselves a brand name, but they're not really standing out from the crowd. Because you can actually, if you create a really solid brand, you can almost add a premium to your product, because it allows you to separate yourself from the competition. So that's something to always look out for. So, the worst thing I've seen is where you get brands and they really want to highlight their brand name, but then they decide that they don't want the brand name in the title because of for keyword reasons, even though Amazon pushes for the brand name in the title, and you can't really see the brand name anywhere. So it kind of defeats the object of having a brand, because it's almost like, well, we've got a brand name to be able to get hold of all these additional features, but actually you want the brand name out there. You want the brand name on your images. You want the brand name, on your packaging. You want the brand name on your product, and it's just being there constantly to remind the customer that they've bought into a brand. So sometimes that's often what we see brands not doing.
That's a good point. Yeah. And then when you have created the brand and you've got brand registry, there's opens up so many more things. I mean, videos, sponsor brand video, ads, headline ads. They're just A+ content. There's so many things now that you can do to separate yourself from the competition. What of those, like, what are the most important things? Like, if someone is going to focus on something now, is it adding A+ content, or is it adding videos and sponsor brand video ads? What is the best way they can, or what's the most important thing they can focus on first?
Yeah, I always say, think about when you're listing your product, think about not only thinking about that mobile experience, because that's where everyone's shopping. And now when you're on mobile, the main images are really what you see straight away at the top of the page. And so we've seen such increases in conversion when you start optimizing those images. So your product image, your main product image, is key. You've got to, make sure that it really you're investing in a decent product image, but it's those additional infographics that you really want to focus on and drive. And they don't have to cost a huge amount. Again, it's those images that are like a stock image with some content on it, a bit of, as I mentioned earlier, this text overlay. You can use those and add those in, and then adding in, starting adding in a bit more about, with your logo, start adding a bit more about the brand. Because you've got your other parts within the page, not only A+ content, but of course you've got brand story as well. So you can start adding all things like that. So main images, definitely, but also A+ content. This is if you've got a new product and you've got a new brand, you need to tell the customer about it. They don't know about it. And so that's really where you can do that through graphics. Is going to appeal more to the eye as they're scrolling through the pages. So main images, your A+ content as well. Of course, you can't ignore the fundamentals of listing optimization and everything from a keyword and search perspective. But from getting that conversion going, that's where you really want to focus on those images in A+.
We're in the middle here of Q4, I would say middle. We're coming up on holiday season here. What are some actionable things that brands can be doing now, or they should have been already doing now, that can help them with getting the most out of the holiday season? Is there some things that they could be doing to the listing, whatever it may be? What are some tips you got there?
Yeah, I always say we're in Q4, really it's advertising. We always say don't be careful with touching your listings come Q4, because Q4 isn't the time to A/B test. We always sort of say pause on the A/B testing right now. It's about trading, unless there's a fundamental reason to work on your content. So as you say, we're in Q4. Hopefully you've already put your content to where it needs to be for now. But what we're seeing now is, making sure that you are aggressive on upping your bids and everything on your campaigns for advertising, because this is a time when, of course, everybody is out there. It becomes really aggressive in terms of, we're already seeing cost per click starting to go up, but also taking advantage of all those features, So we were talking about sponsored brands. Sponsored brands have those custom images now. They're really effective and they look fantastic. Starting to make use of that. Starting to make use of sponsored brand videos as well. These are other ways in which you can really start highlighting your product and your brand and really creating a story as well. So there are things that you can do there. But I would definitely say, really, now you're in Q4, it's all about advertising.
Do you suggest for this holiday season to change anything on like secondary images or anything like that to represent the holiday season, or make it more, put a bow on it so it looks like a gift, or anything like that can help stand out? Is that anything? I know you said you don't touch images or anything like that, but maybe on not the main part of the listing, changing things.
We have done, and we do for brand stores. So there are some product categories that are, it depends on the product. There are some products that are really, very holiday season. That's the product category almost in itself.
Right.
And so you do find that all of a sudden, we're dealing with a pet food client, and, we've already added an image where the dog's on Santa's lap kind of thing around a Christmas tree, and you've got that Christmas vibe, and they're selling a Christmas type of dog food and so forth. So, yes, from a brand store, because brand store can be adapted at many different times. We haven't necessarily gone into that on the actual main product pages, but definitely when driving sponsored brand traffic and traffic from ads into the brand store, we've definitely given that a holiday vibe where, for those categories that it's relevant for as well.
On the product insert side, I get this sometimes, it's like borderline TOS compliant. What do we do? What do we not do? But every time you get a package, there's an insert in it, right? Like everybody's got an insert. What's a good strategy for keeping within compliance with Amazon on the insert side?
Yeah, we always steer away from the insert side because, because of the terms of service. But it doesn't, you've also got to think of it as in, if you were selling your product to any other store, bricks and mortar, would you have some kind of information and leaflet in about your brand? So it's not that it's solely you're trying to do something specific for Amazon or diverting traffic away from Amazon. What would you actually have? Because, when you buy products from a multitude of brands that are not solely Amazon brands, well-known brands, you always get, you get the warranty, the guarantee and everything within it. But you often get a bit more about, especially with toys, with Hasbro and that, oh, have you seen, these are all our other products that we have. So I always say, if you're looking into an insert, yes, you've got to make sure that it's in line with Amazon's terms of service. But if you're then informing the customer about your overall range and other options, but you're not saying shop here at this website here and driving traffic there, then it's different. Because I always say if that insert's already in and that you've got a brand that's already selling to Walmart, they're not going to all of a sudden take that insert out because they're like, oh, hang on, this isn't, so there's this kind of, it really depends on what you're really trying to achieve. And because there are some sellers that obviously are trying to achieve more from get a review, divert traffic away, incentivize that customer. So yes, it's a bit of one of those areas you need to tread carefully for sure.
I like that though.
I do too.
It adds to the brand building. What you're talking about. If that insert is, have you seen our other products, or this product is complementary to this product? That is something that you would see inside of a typical. I like that. That's a good way to continue the brand building process. All right, let's. I want to change gears just again really quick. If anyone's listening and they're like me and you've outlined all these things, you're like, oh, this is amazing. But I only have, unfortunately, 24 hours in a day, and I can't do all this. So they're gonna need help, and they need to. And we're big believers in if you can outsource to experts, you're gonna get a great return on that investment. So let's talk now about eCommerce Nurse. What kind of services are you offering to clients, and how can people get in touch with you?
Yeah, sure. So we work with brands typically in 3 different ways. We work with brands where we help them with the day-to-day running of their accounts. So really account management, because there's some businesses out there that, as you say, don't have the time or sometimes don't have that expertise and knowledge. And so we can manage their businesses on Amazon on their behalf, whether they're a seller, vendor, we manage the two. We also work with clients on a project basis. So if clients are at a point where, we need A+, we need brand store, we need to optimize all our listings, but there's not enough time in the day, or we're not really sure what we're doing and we need design and everything, then that's when the marketing team jump in and really make those, add all the bells and whistles to those product pages to really help boost conversion. We also consult as well for businesses that need help. Maybe they need help getting, unsure. They might be a vendor looking to be a seller. They could be getting started on seller, all the way to some complex, dealing with some bricks and mortar brands going through digital transformation. So we can manage all of those areas, and we work with brands in, of course, in the UK, in Europe, and we support brands in the US as well.
Fantastic. Well, I think after hearing all of your great advice on building brands, I encourage everyone to absolutely check out Carina and eCommerce Nurse. I'm sure there's a contact form on your website.
Yeah, I put a link in the description too.
Perfect.
Thank you.
Yeah, click that link if you're interested in joining, working with Carina. And we really appreciate you coming on. We will get you back on again sometime in the future, because we could really drill down into all of those. We could take any one of those topics and talk about for 2 hours. So we'll definitely get you back on. That was really good insight and information. So we really appreciate it. And I encourage everybody to check out eCommerce Nurse. Also, if you like content like this, make sure you subscribe to this podcast. If you want to see the live streams, make sure that you are liking Solozo's Facebook page, our LinkedIn page, and our YouTube channel. We go live to all 3 of those every day when we record our podcast. So make sure you hit the like button and you can turn on notifications and you'll be notified when we're live with amazing people like Carina. Also, if you need help with your advertising, or if advertising is another one of those tasks that's just a lot of work every day that you'd like to automate it, we can help you at Solozo. So go to solozo.com. You can book a demo. You'll get either Chris or myself, and we'll show you how Solozo helps you automate your exact advertising strategy. Everything from moving keywords between campaigns, negative keyword creation, daily bid adjustments, etc. There's a ton of other features. You can day part, lots of reporting. So lots we can talk about there. So make sure you go to solozo.com and book a demo. All right, everybody. Thanks so much. Carina, thank you for coming on.
Thank you. Thanks, everyone.
Have a great day.